morning, everyone. My name is Triin. I'm from Estonia, based here. I met, as Nina said, we are friends. We met a few years ago with another initiative focusing on digital technologies. But this talk is all about AI, education, and community. And I titled my talk "The Race to the Leading Position," because if you have been following the news in the world, you hear that suddenly every country wants to be the leader. We know that US is leading, China is not far behind, European countries are doing something, Russia wants to be the leader, I'm sure that Georgia wants to be the leader. And I want to address this point to the leading position from the point of community and education. So what is the problem here? Why do everyone suddenly wants to be the leader in this race? Well, it's quite logical because this is the technology of the 21st century. Christoph gave you a very nice overview of the history of automation and industrial revolution. And now these countries that will be successful in implementing AI and data science capabilities will be at the forefront of developing these technologies, and obviously also their economies will be stronger. Thus, the answer to the problem here is how do we achieve this top position? And obviously, education and community are the baseline, or at least the minimum that you need to do to start the race. A few words about me before I start. My background, as said, is from the startup sector. I started 12 years ago in a mobile payments company as a business leader. And after that, I found that the startup sector suits me so well because in these companies, you can really solve great problems for the world. Currently, I'm working at Recognize. It's an intelligent, autonomous security camera provider. And we also have our own cloud platform where we have implemented AI solutions to filter out any kind of false alarms. But today I'm standing here in front of you as the co-founder of NorthStar AI. We named our community North Star because we are up high in the north. Estonia is on the latitude 59. It's quite cold here, but today we have sun. And I'm speaking here as the co-founder of NorthStar AI. But before I tell you more about our initiatives here in Estonia and in the region, I'd like to cover more about the global perspective. And I start my talk with the quote by Sam Altman. I'm sure you all have heard about the startup accelerator in the Silicon Valley called Y Combinator. He used to be the president of this accelerator, and he was saying that his job is to find the smartest, most talented people in the world and enable them. And why he sees the value in talent is because if talent comes together, they start to drift towards very smart ideas and build businesses. So this is something every country in the world is doing, and also Estonia. We want the talent to stay here. Thus, we have two ways to do that. We can either educate talent. Here we're talking about AI talent, or we can import these people from other countries, which is obviously also more time consuming. Today, bear with me, I'm going to give you a lot of details and overview of about the global trends. We're going to look at the state of AI 2020. It's a report that speaks about what's behind the success for AI leadership. Then we're going to look at the AI talent situation in the world compared to EU. And then focus on Estonia and the NorthStar AI activities. But let's dig into the report by Nathan Benage and Ian Hogarth. So they said that there are 5 dimensions that are most important to become an AI leader. First of all, obviously R&D. And this goes to very tightly together with education. So how are our universities performing in terms of R&D? Do we invest in scientists, or do we let them go into US or China? Then the talent. How much talent do we have? And we all know the answer, that demand and supply are not equal here. There is a lot of demand, but the supply is far behind, and that's why we have these community initiatives. Then the private sector. Okay, we have the talent, but where are they working? Where are they contributing? If they can contribute in the private sector, implement AI in private sector, it will contribute to our economies. Obviously, if we talk about talent and implementing the AI, it goes very closely with policies. What are our governments doing? Are they supporting the startups? Are they supporting these communities? Are they working on regulating AI? As you know, in EU recently, EU has said very boldly that EU is all about sustainable and ethical AI. This is the difference compared to China and US. And the global trends are saying that US is still leading the AI market. They have a lot of, they invest a lot into universities. They invest a lot of resources into the communities. They have all the big startups, and they have the data. And obviously, they have their own challenges as well. Although their academic sectors are quite strong, there is a brain drain from academia to private sector. This is also a big problem, because if we lose all the top bright heads to the private sector, who is teaching our young students? Thus the US AI ecosystem is fueled a lot by foreign talent. And a lot of that talent comes from China. So big brain drain in numbers, for example, when in 2004, there were no AI professors leaving the academy, and compared to 2018, it was 41 professors in the US, and they were mostly going to Google, Amazon, Microsoft, Facebook. So all the top big tech companies are winning here. And this raises a question, what is left from the universities? Well, how Facebook responded, they are saying that, okay, we are taking all the brains to Facebook, but we are also building co-programs. So our researchers can work 80% in Facebook and 20% in the academia. And another question here is that the model that is sustainable to uphold the progress in the universities? But not only US is investing a lot, also here in EU, Netherlands is investing enormous amounts, such as 100 million euros to an AI institute that will produce 50 AI professors. So as you look at the numbers, it's a lot of money invested into AI sector just to be the winner. And the same again in US, a lot of money is donated by private sector to the universities to support and to retain the AI talent in the academia. For example, I don't know if you've heard, but Abu Dhabi just opened the first AI university. So a new university dedicated only to AI. And when we look at the US universities and companies attending the AI research conferences, then dominating research papers come from Google, Stanford, MIT, US Berkeley, and so on. And as you see, US is dominating the market here with their research. France and Zurich, Switzerland are somewhere with a yellow line at the bottom of this graph. So we see that it's evident US is winning this race at the moment, and China is not far behind. And the question again raises, what is EU and other parts of the world doing? Obviously, US now understands that China is not far behind. when you look at the research papers submitted to IPS, it's a very high-level conference for AI researchers. The number of research papers submitted by Chinese educated researchers is increasing. So they are very close to the US and investing a lot of money and a lot of hours to become the world leader. We here in EU and in the world should be worried in terms of geopolitics, I guess. But after graduating from a Chinese university, a lot of Chinese students and researchers will still move to US. And as you see in Europe, PhD, like 4% of PhDs are going to other countries. So it's a loss for us. And again, different countries are thinking about what can we do to keep the talent here. And United States is very strong in retaining the talent. Obviously, the talent wants to be among talent. And that's why they are focusing a lot they're focusing a lot to the community building, to the meetups, but obviously the salaries are higher there. And and the talent can really build top-notch technologies there because of the resources. When we look at where are the AI researchers sitting today, 59% of them are in the US. But where do they come from? Only 20% of them come from the US. So again, if we're building these top-notch AI programs in Estonia or Finland or UK, and we lose the talent, we educate them, but US takes them, then if this talent doesn't return here, we are obviously losers. So it's not only about education, it's also about community. And community is obviously all about retaining the talent, getting the talent into one room or into one Zoom room here, so we can talk about topics that interest us and exchange experiences. And this is what we are doing today. It's quite clear that demand for AI talent exceeds supply, and between 2016 and 18, it was even that in the job portals there were 12 times more jobs than there was talent applying for this job. So if anyone wants to change their career, this is the stats that should really motivate you to start looking into AI. Although the AI topics today are still very hot, it wasn't untouched by COVID-19 pandemic. If you look at the graph here, we see that job advertisements in LinkedIn dropped sometime at the beginning of the pandemic. So less jobs were posted to the site. But at the same time, if we look at the investment numbers, it's only growing. And when we look at the investments in 2019, we can say that 10% of the companies got more than $100 million of investment. That really shows that the market is quite ripe. We are not in the beginning anymore, and that's a very good answer from the market. Well, we talked about what's happening in the global market. Let's look at let's come back to Europe. Oxford Insights did a report or index called Government AI Readiness Index 2020. And what it measures is it's looking at different countries all over the world and how these governments are responding to AI. Are they ready? Do they have data? Do they have talent? Do they have the mindset even? Are our government officials visionaries? Do they understand these technologies? And they ranked these countries. Obviously, again, US is winning here. In general, if you look at the top 6, it's quite strong. Top 5 actually is Western democracies, and Estonia here is comes to the 17th position. I guess it's quite good position compared to our history and our recent independence. but we are climbing strongly up there. And what makes a country an AI country? Obviously, as I said, the any AI progress requires that the government also supports our developers. Government wants to retain them here, and they are dealing with the brain drain. And again, they are also innovators. So, for example, in Estonia, government is the one currently leading the AI sector. It wasn't so a few years ago, but then they realized that we need to be the innovators. We have the money. We can take risks. We will support startups, give them small grants, help them to build their proof of concepts. As you know, it's quite expensive for a startup to build it if you're an AI startup. So government really needs to understand these technologies and the potential impact of these technologies. And also, we can talk about talent, but if there is no infrastructure and no data for this talent, then they really can't do anything. So, for example, in Estonia, we can build the skills and educate our people, but we need also to think about where do our companies get the data, because data is the most important factor impacting the success of an AI company. It's not actually the algorithms, because they are pretty much a commodity these days. So do we have the infrastructure to collect data? Do we have open data that we can share with our companies? These are all the questions that different communities and governments need to address if they want to win the race. In general here, what we can say is US, obviously, we know the history of Silicon Valley. They have a very, very strong private sector and venture capital market. At the same time, China has said that they have the readiness and they're ready to implement AI technologies, but at the same time, they are also needing a lot of talent to do that. In EU, there is no strong center. So all the different countries have their own strengths and weaknesses, but now European Commission has started to give out more investments to different countries that are lagging behind. And we are here in EU thinking about how to unify all our different AI strategies. So as you look at the world map, it's quite unequal access to AI technologies. It's not like everyone currently is winning. Unfortunately, Southern America, Africa are quite far behind from the leaders, Western countries. And if the previous speaker, Christoph, was talking about democratizing AI, so our goal here as communities would be to democratize it. So it wouldn't be in the hands of strong economies only. Again, another great graph that shows you what is needed to really win the war. And this is the current situation of AI readiness by countries. And here, Estonia, as you see, ranks quite high. As a small country, and not far behind Sweden, Finland, and Ireland. So what we are doing well here is we are innovating. So what Estonia started to do is focus on startups. As a small country, we don't have a lot of resources to build bigger enterprises like Google or Facebook. But what we can do, we can focus on innovation. We can support the small startups, software developers, product managers, business people, give them resources, give them talent, help them with business models. So one day they will show the potential to grow big. And China here, surprisingly, or actually it's not very surprising that they are failing in automation because their labor is so cheap. They don't invest in technologies and automation in many parts of the factories. And also digital readiness. So we talk about China as the leader, but as a whole, it's still quite a weak country because the resources are not equally distributed, unfortunately. And also, if you look at the map, all the countries are so different, have their own different strengths in Europe. So what we can do in Europe is see what are the strengths of separate countries, what are the weaknesses, and unite ourselves. And very, very soon I will talk about how NorthStar AI has responded to that. Okay, I talked about that. So As we all understand now, researchers and talent wants to be among talent. So this is pretty obvious. You want to be among smart people, you want to learn, but if there's no smart people in your country, everyone has gone to US or China or I don't know, Finland, then you can follow them. But in order to keep you here, we need to support the talent. Also great stats here when we talk about AI startups. So where are they located? And there are over 1,000 startups in US, in China almost 400, and whereas EU in total has almost 800 startups. So we in general, as a whole, we're doing quite good. But again, as separate countries, small countries, we are far behind, and we don't have the strength that bigger countries have. What are the startups doing here? AI startups doing here in the EU? Most of them obviously are in the B2B sector. So you've been following the talks over the 3 days here, and you know that you need data to build AI applications. And most data is available in business-to-business sector. So that's why pretty obviously most of the startups are building solutions for other businesses. Small startups are helping big construction companies because they have data again. But we see more and more business-to-consumer applications popping up as well. And in the long strategy, EU sees that our focus can be on the IoT, robotics, and self-driving cars, but currently EU is not leading in the world. We might think we have, but let's look at the stats. So we are behind the global average. So when we talk about what skills the AI talent needs, the European companies have said that mostly they need talent to understand the technical skills or who can work with the AI technologies. And then comes all the managerial capabilities and business people. So this is also the strategy, how we started here in, how we focused on AI talent building here in Estonia. So we picked out the AI leaders, and then these leaders would become the motivators and pull the whole community together. So it wasn't like let's start giving everyone some kind of AI education or understanding. We started from going from top to bottom. But other countries have other strategies, and I'll jump through this. Sweden, for example. Sweden, we can say, and obviously wants to become the AI leader, but we can already say that Sweden is an AI leader. And what they have done well historically is that they have increased a lot of their cognitive skills as a country. They have had all the ICT companies and telcos, and obviously these companies have contributed to the skill level of the country in general. So if anyone wants to copy this slide, I think this excellently tells you what you need to do as a country if you want to win the race. A lot of details here, but in general, Sweden understands that education is the key. You need to support your researchers. You need to have a quota of how many AI professionals you want to get out of the university, so they need to graduate. They won't go to working situation too early. Then the government understands that they need to become the test bed and environment for AI companies to test their solutions in a safe environment that would be sustainable and ethical and regulated. This brings the topic to the standards that the EU is also focusing on. And we know all the standards and ethics and norms are missing in China. So we say that we here in the EU focus on the standards, and this will bring us long-term success. And I found two examples from what is being done in Stockholm. For example, one of their, besides Spotify, of course, one of their winning or startup showing the most potential is Einride, and they are doing self-driving and remote controlled trucks. So quite sophisticated solutions, but this is coming out of Europe. And another example is behavior sec. So what they are doing, they are following your digital fingerprint. So every click you do in the internet, every mouse movement, and then they are detecting if there are unauthorized users looking by looking at in the anomalies in your keyboard movement. So quite cool solutions, and we can call it a deep tech solution. Finland, as I was saying, Finland is a very dear country to Estonia, our neighbors, and they also have another strategy. If Finland is focusing also on, or started with their strategy focusing on the educating the top, then Finland is taking another strategy. They are focusing on educating 1% of the population. So they have a program, Elements of AI. You can check it out. I think it's now translated into English, and Estonia translated it into Estonian, and I completed this program. So it's basically a very basic AI program, giving you an understanding what are neural networks, what is machine learning, how you can apply these technologies, so that everyone will understand the benefit. And if the whole country understands the benefit of AI technologies, it's obviously more agile and more fast to apply these technologies. But they also have quite a lot of startups compared to Estonia. One of the coolest ones I personally like is AIPhoria, and it's analyzing medical images and therefore supporting healthcare professionals. So it's not AI deciding here, but human in the loop. So AI and doctors are working together for image-based diagnostics. Quite cool. Yay, we now come back to Estonia. Estonia is a small country, and as I told you, our strategy from day one has been to become the implementers. So we can't really be the developers of the technologies, but we can benefit from the technologies made in Silicon Valley and implement them in our businesses. The situation in 2020 in Estonia in terms of AI, I can say subjectively, is quite good. We have a lot of AI startups. I think we have over 300 of them currently, implementing the technologies, building businesses. We have bigger businesses finding their way into automation and optimizing through machine learning technologies. We have our governmental strategy called CRAT strategy, and our universities are now also opening up data science master's programs and machine learning programs. So the technical talent is getting stronger, but this is the situation now. It wasn't like that 5 years ago when I co-founded the organization NorthStar AI. And it's a community initiative or private industry initiative. So how it all happened, AI developers and myself, I'm a business person, realized that we want to live in Estonia. We don't want to leave this region. We love it here, but we see that there is not enough talent. And we started to organize these meetups like you have all over the world. But at some point we had 10 meetups, and then we realized that we don't have speakers anymore. It's a small country. We don't have enough experience. And this led us to co-found this organization that started to organize international conferences, but these will be in Estonia. So we brought the talent to Estonia. And we wanted it to be the very high level conference, only choose the best speakers of the world. We brought them in from Silicon Valley, from UK, all the top companies of the world. And we hoped that these top talent will also inspire the local talent here. And we started to build the industry initiative. But besides us wanting to live here, we saw that in the region we have had Skype and Spotify, but in EU, can you name any other like bigger technology company or a startup. We don't have enough of these. And we thought, okay, we need to motivate young people and show them the success stories in the world and locally so that they will have motivation and the skills to take the initiative and have ambition to really build Spotify or Skype level companies here. And at one point we realized that we are bringing in a lot of great speakers from US, but these success stories from US are not really applying to our market here. We're smaller countries. We don't have so many resources. And then we took the focus back on EU and put our own friends and our own talent in Estonia and Finland and Sweden on the stage, because these war stories of similar people motivate more and resemble and give more resemblance to our audience. And yeah, we were hoping that this will create a snowball effect. So if the technical elite locally will start sharing their stories, it will create a unified AI community. And as I said, it's an industry initiative. When we started in 2015, our government didn't have their strategy. Our universities didn't have their master's program. So what we were doing, we were basically filling the empty gap. We saw that nothing is happening. We can't really wait for the universities or governments to react. We need to do it because we want to stay here. We want to grow ourselves and understand these technologies and also understand how to apply them. So this was the start. But as I told you, now the situation has changed. Government is moving slowly but steadily. So our mission in that sense has been done. And now we are focusing, yeah, here you can see the pictures from our biggest annual conference when we were still offline. Offline was allowed, and we brought in Ville Tuulos, for example. He's a Finnish guy living in Silicon Valley. There are so many Finnish guys. This guy is also from Finland. And then our president came to the stage and told everyone in the audience that, yes, we want the talent to be in Estonia. We want to help you. Come to me if you have questions. I don't want you to leave. So a big governmental positive note from the government. And what we're doing now with this initiative, NorthStar AI, we are focusing on building a regional community. So we started with Estonia only, then we included Finland and neighboring country Sweden, and then other countries will follow. So we have built a database of all the local AI practitioners. So for example, if I am building image recognition model and I want to share my understanding of it or get experience from others, I can go into this database and find a person outside my own country or in my own country if I don't know these people yet. So we hope that if people come together, and even if they come together one by one, we will help to increase the knowledge in the market. Estonia now is doing quite, as I told you, quite good in the sense that per capita, Estonia is number of startups per capita. Estonia is quite high in the graph. So we're a small country, but we have almost 1.1 startups per capita. So you can say that almost everyone in Estonia needs to have their own startup. Obviously, it's not all AI startups, but this is the trend here. A few cool solutions from Estonia. Starship Robots. I'm not sure if you have seen them or heard about this startup, but it's quite big. In Estonia, these Starship Robots are running all around the city and delivering packages and parcels. They are also working in most of the most prominent US university campuses. So basically, they are doing the last mile delivery, which is much more cheaper if you implement robots. And another cool startup, it's the up and coming, most hottest AI startup currently here. It's Factum. What they are doing, they are automating negotiations. For example, if there are big enterprises like Booking.com who needs to negotiate with hundreds of tourism companies, this AI tool helps them to do the negotiations. So both of the parties will be winning like 50-50. So, and the human has been taken out of this loop. It will save a lot of resources and money for big enterprises. Another cool startup, and that's the last one I'm telling you about, is Snackable. We are all listening to audiobooks and podcasts these days, but what is missing from the audio side is the search. We have search for text, but we can't really search audio. And they are building a discovery engine for word audio. So you don't need to listen to 1 hour talk anymore. You can search for the parts that or the keywords that interest you, and obviously save a lot of time for yourself. So this is happening in Estonia currently. And that's all from my side. I'm happy to take questions and go deeper in any of the topics that I touched here.